everyone. Today we are going to learn about comparison. Let's start with the first slide. So we will start by making comparison with as, adjective as, and then as, adverb as. The first example here, we are going to compare Jeno and Jamin. Jeno is 21 years old and Jamin is 21 years old. We can say Jeno is as old as Jamin. So in here we use as plus adjective as to say that two parts of the comparison are equal or the same in some way. In here is about how old they are, about their age. The next one, we are going to use as plus adverb as. For example, Jisung came as quickly as he could. And then next, if they are not equal, we can use not as plus blah, blah, blah as. For example, in this case, Jisung 20 years old and Jeno is 21. So we can say Jisung is not as old as Jeno. And then we can also use quite and nearly. Quite and nearly are often used with the negative. Renjun is not quite as old as Jaehyun. In here, not quite as adjective, sorry. In here, not quite as, adjective as, it means they have a small difference. In here, only 3 years. And then next, Jisoo is 20, and he is not early as old as Jaehyun. In this example, not nearly as adjective as shows big difference because Jisung 20 and Jaehyun is 25, so they have 5 years gap. Okay, now we will compare Renjun and Mark. Renjun is 22, Mark also 22, so we can say Renjun is just as old as Mark. And then Jamin 21 and Mark is 22, so they almost as old. Yeah, so Jamin is nearly or almost as old as Mark. Okay, in here you can practice more example how to use as adjective as or not as adjective as. Okay, now we are going to see comparative and superlative. For example, A is older than B. Jaehyun is older than Jisung. A and B are older than C and D. Mark and Renjun are older than Jeno and Jamin. And then the last one, Ed is more generous than his brother. So in here we use comparative. The comparative compares this or that or this to those. Usually we make comparative by using adjective plus or by using more plus adjective. For example, the adjective old, the comparative will be older. The adjective generous, the comparative will be more generous. And then the next one, we are going to use superlative. The superlative compares one part of a whole group to all the rest of the group. Yeah, for example, A, B, C, and D are sisters. A is the oldest of all 4 sisters. E, a woman in Turkey claims to be the oldest person in the world. And F, Ed is the most generous person in his family. So how do we make superlative? We make superlative by adding adjective to est or by adding most with adjective. Now, don't forget, when we use comparative, it will be followed by then. A is older than B, Ed is more generous than his brother, yeah. And then when we use superlative, the superlative will begins with the. A woman in Turkey claims to be the oldest person in the world. Example F, Ed is the most generous person in his family. So for most one-syllable adjective, we will make it by adding es, for comparative and est for superlative. Adjective old, comparative older, superlative oldest. Adjective wise, the comparative wiser, the superlative wisest. And then for most two-syllable adjectives, we use more and most. More for comparative, most for superlative. For example, the adjective famous, comparative for more famous, superlative the most famous. Adjective pleasant, comparative more pleasant, the superlative the most pleasant. And then don't forget, if the adjective and in Y, we have to change Y into I. Busy, the comparative busier, the superlative the busiest. Pretty, the comparative prettier, the superlative prettiest. And some two-syllable adjectives use either or est, more or most. Yeah. So you can say clever. For example, adjective clever. For comparative, you can say cleverer or more clever. It doesn't matter. For superlative, you can use the cleverest or the most clever. And then for adjective more than three, adjective with 3 or more syllables, we use more for comparative and most for superlative. For example, important, the adjective, comparative, more important, the superlative, the most important. But be careful, there are some irregular there are some irregular adjectives. For example, the adjective good, the comparative will be better, and the superlative will be the best. For the adjective bad, the comparative will be worse, and the superlative will be the worst. Okay. We can also make comparative and superlative form of adverb. For the adverb carefully, comparative will be more carefully, superlative will be the most carefully. And then there are also one-syllable adverb: fast, faster, the fastest; hard, harder, and the hardest. And then the irregular: well, the comparative better, and superlative the best. Far, the comparative farther or further, and the superlative the farthest or furthest. Both farther and further are used to compare physical distance. For example, I walk farther than my friend did. Or I walk further than my friend did. Yeah, they have the same meaning. But further also means additional. I need further information. Yeah, we cannot say I need further. We have to say I need further information. Further cannot be used when the meaning is additional. Okay, so in here you can practice how to use comparative. Mangoes are sweeter than lemons. Yeah, the formula of the sentence will be noun one, mangoes, and then it will be are, and then the comparative sweeter than lemons. And then I give one more example. This is using what is it, from the adverb hard. The comparative will be harder. For example, Shizuka studied harder than Nobita. Nah, in here we are going to see, to make a complete comparative, don't forget to use than. In formal English, a subject pronoun, for example, he, and then follows than. Yeah, let us see example B. I'm older than my brother. I'm older than he is. Okay, and then frequently an auxiliary verb follows the subject after than. He works harder than I do. Itu kalau present tense. That is for present tense. For past tense, I arrived early than they did. Yeah. And then a possessive noun. We can see in example F and G. Anne's hair is longer than Kate's. Jack's apartment is smaller than mine. Okay, when we use adjective, sometimes we modify with the adverb very. For example, Tom is very old and drives carefully. But be careful, we cannot use very to modify comparative. Yeah, so we cannot say Tom is very older than I am, or and drives very more carefully. No, instead of using very, we will use much, a lot, or far to modify comparative adjective and adverb. For example, Tom is much older than I am. Jaehyun is much older than Jisung and drives a lot more carefully than she used to. We can also use the common modifier a little or a little bit. Ben is a little bit older than I am. Chandler is a little bit older than Jisung. And then now we are going to use comparison with less. Yeah, so the opposite of or more is expressed by less or not as adjective as. Jadi bentuk lawannya atau more adalah less atau not as adjective as. For example, a pencil is less expensive than a book. A pencil is not as expensive as a book. And sometimes we use more with nouns. Would you like some more coffee? Not everyone is here. I expect more students to come later. Or something else, for example, like this. Rafi has more cars than Atta. So that is the way you use more with nouns. When more is used with noun, it often has the meaning of additional. It is not necessary to use than. Nah, kalau cuman untuk untuk tambahan kita nggak perlu than. Would you like some more coffee? Not everyone is here. I expect more students to come later. And then in example C, we are going to see more is also used when with nouns to make complete comparison. Now in here, we need to use than. There are more people in China than there are in Indonesia. Rafi has more cars than Atta. Okay, example D is similar with A and B, is about additional. Do you have enough coffee or would you like some more? Okay, and in here, number 1 until number 3, in here we compare number 1, compare mammals in South Africa and Kenya. Number 2, compare volcanoes in Indonesia and Japan. And number 3, compare island in South Korea and North Korea. For example, about mammals. Kenya has more kinds of mammals than South Africa. Okay, in here we are going to practice using or more and the words in the list to complete sentence. For example, number 1, a city has more traffic than a small town. How about number 2? Number 2, the answer will be, there is more information available on the internet today than there was 1 year ago. Okay, now we are going to see how to use repeating a comparative. Repeating a comparative gives the idea that someone becomes progressively greater, semakin bertambah, gitu ya, semakin bertambah baik, bertambah cepat, atau bertambah rumit. For example, A. Because he was afraid, he walked faster and faster. Semakin cepat dan cepat. B. Life the modern world is getting more and more complicated. Semakin dan semakin rumit. And many expressions in English, they use double comparative. Double comparative has two parts. Both parts begin with the, as in the examples. The harder you study, the more you will learn. Jadi dua-duanya dengan the. The harder you study, the more you will learn. Jadi ini sebetulnya comparatives yang menunjukkan sebab akibat ya. The second part of the comparison is the result of the first part. In A, for example, the harder you study, the more you will learn. In A, if you study harder, the result will be that you will learn more. And then there are some common expressions like this. The more the merrier and the sooner the better. In D, the more the merrier. It is good to have more people at the party. And then in E, the sooner the better. It is good if we leave soon as we can. Now we are going to see how to use superlative. Typical compression when the superlative is used in A, superlative plus in a place. For example, in the word, in this class, in my family. Example A, Tokyo is one of the largest cities in the world. Example B, superlative plus adjective clause. David is the most generous person, adjective clause ya, generous and person. David is the most generous person I have ever known. In example C, we are going to see superlative and of all. I have 3 books. These 2 are quite good, but this one is the best of all. Nah, previously we have learned less is the opposite of more. Sedangkan kalau untuk superlatif, the least has the opposite meaning of the most. I took 4 final exams. The final in accounting was the least difficult of all. Okay, let us see example C. Ali is one of the best students in class. F, one of the best students in this class is Ali. Please notice the pattern with one of. One of always followed with plural noun. Harus diikuti oleh plural noun. Tapi verbnya adalah singular verb. Ali is one of the best students in the class. Studentsnya dengan S, tapi Ali is. Ali is one of the best students in the class. One of the best students in the class. Oke, sekali lagi, one of the best students. Satu dari banyak. One of the best students in this class. Tapi karena cuma satu, makanya kita pakai is. One of the best students in this class is Ali. Nah, and then in example G, I have never taken a harder test. Never plus comparative ya, it means superlative. H, I have never taken a hard test. So, jadi ini sebetulnya maksudnya adalah example G, I have never taken a hard test means it was the hardest test I've ever taken. Now we are going to complete the sentence with the superlative form. For example, Kyle is lazy. He is the laziest student in the class. Mike and Julie were nervous, but Amanda was the most nervous of all. Now we are going to use the same, similar, different, like, alike. A, Troy and Gabby have the same books. B, Troy and Gabby have similar books. C, Troy and Gabby have the different books. D, their books are the same. E, their books are similar. F, their books are different. So the same, similar, and different are used as adjective. G, this book is the same as that one. H, this book is similar to that one. I, this book is different from that one. The same, we can see in here, the same is followed with as, followed by as. The same as. Similar is followed by to. This book is similar to that one. Different is followed by from. This book is different from that one. When we talk about similarities, we can use the same, and then it will be followed with a noun. A noun may come between the same and as. She is the same age as my brother. My shoes are the same size as yours. My son has the same height as my daughter. In example K and L, we are going to use like and alike. My pencil is like your pen. My pencil and your pencil are alike. Notice in example K, noun plus be like, my pencil is like, and then another noun. My pencil is like your pen. Example L, noun, and then be alike. Karena ada dua noun, kita pakainya are. My pencil and your pencil are alike. Nah, when we use be like, dan seperti tadi contohnya my pencil is like your pen. Tapi kadang-kadang bisa juga menggunakan verb. Nah, usually verb yang digunakan adalah yang berkaitan dengan senses. For example, she is like her sister gitu kan. Nah, bisa juga menggunakan verb looks. She looks like her sister. It sounds like thunder. The material feels like silk. The chemical tastes like salt. Okay, now example N. The twins look alike. Alike might follow a few verbs other than be. The twins look alike. We think alike. Kita berpikir serupa. Most 4-year-olds act alike. Kebanyakan anak-anak 4 tahun tingkahnya serupa. My sister and I talk alike. Saya dan kakak saya cara bicaranya serupa. Okay, in here you are going to try to complete the sentence with the same as, similar to, a different, or like. Jack and Jill both come from Rapid City. In other words, they come from the same town. Number 2, the city is the same as my hometown. Atau mau dengan similar juga apa-apa. The city is similar to my hometown. The city is like my hometown. Okay, you can try number 3, 4, and 5. Okay, that's all for today. Hopefully it will be beneficial for you. Thank you very much. Please forgive me if there are some